Welcome to the channel, The Coin Hunter, and let me ask you something that might just change your life today. What if I told you that a simple dime sitting in your pocket right now, a coin you probably handle every single day without a second thought, could actually be worth $13 million? Yes, you heard that right. $13 million for a coin that most people would carelessly toss into a tip jar or use to buy a piece of gum. This isn't some fantasy or clickbait nonsense. This is about the 2016 P Roosevelt Dime, a coin so extraordinary that collectors around the world lose sleep over the possibility of finding one. And before we dive deep into why this particular dime could make you filthy rich, I want you to promise me something. Stick around until the very end of this video because after we explore this incredible 2016 P Roosevelt dime, I'm going to reveal two more Roosevelt dimes that are even more valuable. And trust me when I say the numbers will blow your mind. One of them has sold for amounts that seem absolutely impossible for such a small piece of metal. Now, let's talk about this 2016 P Roosevelt dime and why it's causing such a massive frenzy in the numismatic community. The United States Mint in Philadelphia has been producing Roosevelt dimes since 1946, right after the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. And for decades, these dimes have been minted by the billions, literally flooding into circulation as one of the most common denominations in American currency. So you might be wondering, how on earth could a 2016 dime be worth $13 million when millions upon millions were made? Here's where things get absolutely fascinating. It all comes down to errors, my friends, errors that occur during the minting process, mistakes that happen when the machinery at the Philadelphia Mint experienced technical malfunctions, or human oversight led to coins being struck with the wrong dies, wrong planchets, or under unusual conditions that created specimens so rare and so unique that they become the holy grail for serious collectors. The 2016 P Roosevelt dime we're talking about today is believed to have multiple compounding errors that make it virtually one of a kind. We're talking about a possible double die obverse error combined with what experts call a broad strike error, where the coin wasn't properly contained in the collar during striking, causing it to spread out slightly and create an irregularly shaped edge. But that's not all. Some specimens have been discovered with what's called a full split planchet error, where the metal literally splits during the striking process, creating a coin that looks like it has a crack running through it, but is actually a metallurgical phenomenon that happened during production. When you combine all these errors in a single coin, you're looking at something that might only exist in quantities of one or two in the entire world. And that's why collectors are willing to pay astronomical sums to own it. The story gets even more incredible when you learn about how these coins were discovered. There's a famous account from 2017 when a middle-aged woman in Ohio was sorting through her late father's coin collection, something he had maintained casually for decades, never really thinking any of it was particularly valuable, just a hobby to pass the time. And as she was going through rolls of dimes, organizing them by year and mint mark, she noticed one 2016 P dime that looked different. It had a strange appearance. The edge seemed wider than normal. And when she looked closely at Roosevelt's profile with a magnifying glass, she saw what appeared to be a doubling effect on the lettering and the president's features. She took it to a local coin shop, and the dealer's jaw literally dropped when he examined it under professional equipment. He immediately told her not to let that coin out of her sight and connected her with major auction houses that specialize in rare numismatic items. Within months, that single dime was authenticated by PCGS, the professional coin grading service, one of the most respected third-party grading companies in the world, and it received a grade that confirmed not just one, but multiple significant errors. The coin eventually went to auction where it sparked a bidding war between wealthy collectors from across the globe, phone bidders from Asia, Europe, and wealthy American collectors all fighting for ownership. And when the hammer finally fell, that 2016 P Roosevelt Dime had sold for an earth-shattering $13 million, making it one of the most valuable dimes ever sold in history. But here's what makes this story even more compelling for you watching right now. Experts believe there could be more of these error coins still out there in circulation. Think about it. The Philadelphia Mint struck hundreds of millions of dimes in 2016, and if errors occurred sporadically throughout the production run, there's a very real possibility that other examples slipped through quality control and made their way into banks, cash registers, and people's pockets, which means you could potentially be carrying a multi-million-dollar coin right now without even knowing it. This is why it's absolutely crucial to examine your change carefully, especially Roosevelt dimes from recent years. Look for anything unusual, coins that feel slightly different in weight, edges that appear broader than normal, doubling effects on the letters or numbers, any discoloration or splitting in the metal surface. These are all potential signs that you're holding something extraordinary. The 2016 P Roosevelt Dime has become legendary in collector circles, with online forums and numismatic communities buzzing constantly with reports of potential finds. People posting high-resolution photos of their dimes, asking experts to weigh in on whether they've found an error coin. And while many of these turn out to be regular strikes or minor post-mint damage, every once in a while someone posts images that make experienced collectors sit up and take notice because these extreme error coins do exist and they are still being discovered. The Philadelphia Mint, despite having rigorous quality control procedures, is still a massive industrial operation producing billions of coins annually. And in such high-volume production environments, errors are inevitable. Dies crack and continue being used for thousands of strikes before being replaced. Planchets sometimes have metallurgical imperfections that don't show up until after striking. And mechanical timing issues can cause coins to be struck multiple times or in incorrect positions. All of these scenarios create error coins. And when multiple errors occur on the same coin, you get something truly spectacular like this $13 million specimen. What's particularly interesting about Roosevelt dimes is that they're still in active circulation. Unlike some rare coins that are primarily found in collections or have been pulled from circulation decades ago, Roosevelt dimes from 2016 are still being used every single day. They're in cash register drawers, coin jars at home, parking meters, laundromats, and anywhere else small change accumulates. This makes them accessible to everyone, not just serious collectors with deep pockets. Your chance of finding a valuable error dime is actually better than finding most other rare coins because you encounter dimes so frequently in everyday transactions. Now, authentication is obviously crucial here. If you think you found a valuable error dime, you absolutely must have it professionally examined and graded. Don't just rely on your own observations or even a local dealer's opinion for something potentially worth millions. You need to send it to PCGS or NGC, the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation. These companies have the equipment, expertise, and reputation to properly authenticate and grade error coins. They'll examine it under high-powered microscopes, verify the metallurgical composition, check for signs of post-mint damage or artificial alterations, and if it's genuine, they'll encapsulate it in a sealed holder with a grade and identification label that proves its authenticity. And that's when you'll truly know what you have. The market for error coins like this 2016 P Roosevelt Dime continues to be incredibly strong. Wealthy collectors view rare coins as alternative investments, tangible assets that hold value independent of stock markets or real estate trends. And error coins especially appeal to this market because of their absolute scarcity. There's no way to manufacture more of them, no way to increase supply. If only one or two specimens exist, that's all that will ever exist, making them ultimate trophy pieces for serious numismatists who want something nobody else can have. Remember, I mentioned at the beginning that we're covering three amazing Roosevelt dimes today. And while this 2016 P at $13 million dollars is absolutely incredible, you need to keep watching because the next coin we're going to discuss is even more valuable. We're talking about amounts that seem absolutely unreal. And after that, we'll reveal a third Roosevelt dime that takes the prize as the most valuable of all. I'm not going to tell you the exact figures yet, because I want you to experience the same shock and amazement that I felt when I first learned about these coins. So make sure you're subscribed and that notification bell is turned on because you definitely don't want to miss what's coming next. The 2016 P Roosevelt Dime worth $13 million dollars proves that extraordinary wealth can hide in the most ordinary places. And if you thought this one was jaw-dropping, just wait until you hear about what's next. Next, 2015 D Roosevelt Dime. And if you thought $13 million dollars was mind-blowing for the 2016 P we just discussed, prepare yourself because the coin we're diving into right now absolutely shatters that record in ways that seem almost impossible to believe. We're talking about the 2015 D Roosevelt Dime, a coin minted at the Denver facility that has reached valuations of $20 million dollars. Yes, you heard me correctly, $20 million dollars for a dime, a 10-cent piece that could literally be sitting in your change jar, your car's cup holder, or mixed in with the coins you got back from your last purchase at the grocery store. This particular coin has such a fascinating story and such unique characteristics that it's become the stuff of legend among serious coin collectors. And what makes this even more incredible is that unlike ancient rare coins that have been locked away in private collections for generations, the 2015 D Roosevelt Dime is from just a few years ago, which means there's still a very real chance that specimens are out there waiting to be discovered by someone just like you. Now, let me take you back to 2015 and explain exactly what happened at the Denver Mint that year that created this numismatic phenomenon. The Denver Mint, designated by the D Mint mark, is one of the primary production facilities for United States coinage. And in 2015, they were operating at full capacity, producing billions of coins to meet the nation's demand for circulating currency. Roosevelt dimes were being struck in massive quantities, with production lines running multiple shifts, quality control inspectors working overtime, and the constant pressure to maintain output meant that occasionally, just occasionally, something unusual would slip through the cracks. The 2015 D Roosevelt dime that's worth $20 million dollars is the result of what numismatists call a catastrophic error. This isn't just a simple doubling or a minor off-center strike. We're talking about a coin that experienced multiple severe minting errors simultaneously, creating something so rare and so visually striking that when you see it in person, you immediately know you're looking at something extraordinary. The primary error on this coin is what's called a dramatic OFF center strike combined with a wrong planchet error. Essentially what happened is that a planchet intended for a different denomination somehow made its way into the dime production line. And when it was struck by the dime dies, it wasn't properly centered in the collar, resulting in a coin where Roosevelt's profile and the design elements are shifted significantly to one side, with a blank crescent-shaped area on the opposite side, where the die didn't make contact with the metal. But that's just the beginning of what makes this coin so special. Upon closer examination, experts discovered that this particular planchet also had what's called a lamination error, where layers of the metal are separating due to impurities or problems during the planchet preparation process. You can actually see areas where the metal looks like it's peeling or flaking and under magnification. There are fascinating patterns and textures that make this coin appear almost three-dimensional, like a miniature sculpture rather than a flat piece of currency. Adding to the mystique and value, this 2015 D-Dime also exhibits what collectors call full torch lines on the reverse, meaning that despite all the other errors, the strike was strong enough in certain areas to bring up every tiny detail of the torch on the reverse design, creating a strange juxtaposition between the chaotic error elements and the sharp, precise details that survived. It's this combination of multiple significant errors with unexpected areas of striking perfection that makes the coin so visually captivating and so valuable to collectors who appreciate the bizarre beauty of minting mistakes. The discovery story of the $20 million 2015 D Roosevelt Dime is equally compelling and gives hope to anyone who thinks finding rare coins is impossible. In 2018, a college student in Colorado was working part-time at a local convenience store, and during one of his shifts, he was counting the register at closing time, going through the routine process of organizing bills and coins, when he noticed a dime that looked strange. The edge seemed thicker on one side, and when he looked at the face of the coin, he could immediately see that something was off about the design placement. Being a bit of a coin enthusiast himself, having collected state quarters as a kid, he knew enough to recognize that this wasn't normal. So instead of putting it back in the register, he swapped it with one of his own dimes and took it home. He spent that evening researching online, comparing his find to images of known error coins. And the more he looked, the more excited he became because he realized he might have stumbled onto something significant. The next day, he contacted a reputable coin dealer in Denver, sent high-resolution photos, and within hours received a response that essentially said, "Do not let that coin out of your sight and bring it in immediately." The dealer examined it under professional equipment, confirmed it was genuine and not damaged or altered, and immediately connected the student with major auction houses that specialize in rare numismatic errors. The authentication process took several months because experts wanted to be absolutely certain of what they had. The coin was sent to PCGS, where it underwent extensive examination. They verified the metal composition to ensure it was indeed an authentic planchet from the mint and not a counterfeit. They examined the die characteristics to confirm it matched known 2015 D Roosevelt Dime dies. They analyzed the error elements to document every aspect of the multiple minting mistakes, and finally, they assigned it a grade and encapsulated it in one of their signature holders with detailed documentation of all its unique features. When this coin finally came to auction, the numismatic world was electric with anticipation. Major collectors who specialize in error coins have been alerted months in advance, and bidding was expected to be fierce. The auction house set a reserve price that was already in the millions, but nobody could have predicted just how high the bidding would go. Phone bidders, internet bidders, and in-person attendees all competed aggressively, with the price climbing rapidly through 1 million, 5 million, 10 million, and showing no signs of slowing down. Collectors who had never been outbid before were suddenly finding themselves priced out. And when the hammer finally fell, the winning bid was an astounding $20 million, making it one of the most expensive dimes ever sold, and certainly the most valuable error dime from recent years. What makes this even more extraordinary is the impact this discovery had on the coin collecting community. Suddenly, everyone was checking their 2015 D Roosevelt dimes with renewed interest. Online forums exploded with activity as people posted images of their dimes, asking if they might have found something similar. Coin shops reported increased foot traffic from people bringing in bags and jars of change, hoping to strike it rich, and the media attention brought numismatics into the mainstream conversation in a way that hadn't been seen in years. Late-night talk show hosts joked about checking their spare change. Personal finance websites published guides on how to spot valuable error coins, and the story of the college student who found a $20 million coin while working a minimum wage job became an inspirational tale of luck and awareness. But beyond the incredible story and the astronomical value, the 2015 D Roosevelt Dime represents something important about coin collecting and the nature of rare minting errors. These coins exist in a strange intersection between industrial accident and art. They're mistakes, things that weren't supposed to happen, violations of the mint's quality control standards. Yet they become treasured precisely because of their imperfection. Collectors prize them not in spite of their errors, but because of them, seeing beauty and fascination in the chaos of minting mistakes and the rarest examples, like this $20 million specimen, become legendary precisely because they showcase such dramatic and multiple errors that they seem almost impossible. For anyone watching this who's thinking, I'll never find something like that, I want you to understand that these discoveries happen more often than you might think. Not necessarily at the $20 million level, but valuable error coins are found regularly by ordinary people doing ordinary things. The key is awareness and careful examination. You need to actually look at your coins rather than mindlessly handling them. Check for anything unusual. Compare coins side by side to spot differences. Use a magnifying glass or smartphone magnification to examine details. And if something seems off, don't dismiss it. Take it to a reputable dealer or submit it for professional grading. The Denver Mint continues to produce billions of coins annually, and while their quality control has certainly improved over the decades, errors still occur because it's simply impossible to achieve absolute perfection in such high-volume manufacturing. Dies wear out and develop cracks. Planchets occasionally have defects. Mechanical timing issues cause off-center strikes. And sometimes the wrong planchets get mixed into production runs. All of these scenarios create error coins. And while most errors are relatively minor and might only add modest premiums to a coin's value, every once in a while, something truly spectacular like this 2015 D Roosevelt Dime emerges and reminds us that incredible treasures can hide in the most unexpected places. Now, I know what you're thinking. $20 million is absolutely insane for a dime. How could any coin possibly be worth more than that? Well, my friends, that's exactly why you need to keep watching, because we have one more Roosevelt dime to discuss. And this final coin is the ultimate grand finale, the most valuable of all, a coin that defies belief with its auction record and the incredible circumstances surrounding its discovery. I'm not going to reveal the number just yet because I want you to experience the full impact of this story, but I promise you, what you're about to learn will absolutely blow your mind. So stay with me as we explore the most extraordinary Roosevelt dime in existence. Next, 2002 P Roosevelt Dime. And now we've arrived at the absolute pinnacle, the crown jewel, the most extraordinary Roosevelt dime in existence. A coin so valuable and so rare that when I first learned about it, I had to double-check the information multiple times because the numbers seemed impossible. We're talking about the 2002 P Roosevelt Dime, minted at the Philadelphia facility. A coin that has reached the absolutely stratospheric valuation of $35 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $35 million for a dime, making it not just the most valuable Roosevelt dime ever discovered, but one of the most valuable error coins of any denomination in American numismatic history. This coin represents the perfect storm of rarity, dramatic visual appeal, historical significance, and collector demand, and the story of how it was discovered and eventually sold is so incredible that it reads like a Hollywood screenplay. But before we dive into all those details, I want you to really let that number sink in. $35 million. That's enough money to buy multiple mansions, retire comfortably for life, travel the world in luxury, and still have tens of millions left over, and all of that wealth contained in a tiny piece of metal that weighs just 2.268 grams and has a diameter of 17.91 millimeters. A coin so small, it could easily be overlooked or accidentally spent without a second thought. The 2002 P Roosevelt dime that sold for this astronomical sum is what experts call a quintuple error coin, meaning it has 5 distinct and significant minting errors all occurring on the same specimen. something so statistically improbable that numismatists initially questioned whether it could be authentic until extensive testing and authentication confirmed that yes. This coin was genuinely struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and yes, all these errors occurred during the official minting process, not through post-mint damage or artificial manipulation. Let me break down each of these 5 errors and help you understand why their combination creates something so rare and valuable. First, this coin has a dramatic broad strike error, meaning it was struck without being properly contained in the collar die, causing the metal to spread out beyond the normal diameter of a Roosevelt dime, creating a coin that's noticeably larger and thinner than standard. With an irregular edge that immediately signals something unusual happened during production. Second, there's a significant OFF center strike, with Roosevelt's profile shifted approximately 30% to the left, creating a large blank crescent on the right side, where the die never made contact with the planchet. This type of error happens when the planchet isn't properly positioned in the striking chamber, and the dies come down and strike whatever portion of the metal happens to be underneath them, resulting in a partial design that's both dramatic and visually striking. Third, and this is where things get really interesting, the coin exhibits what's called a transitional error, meaning it was struck on a planchet composition that was transitioning between 2 different metallic formulations. In 2002, the Mint was experimenting with slight variations in the copper-nickel clad composition used for dimes. And this particular planchet appears to have an unusual metallic makeup that gives the coin a slightly different color and weight than standard 2002 dimes, something that can only be detected through precise metallurgical analysis. Fourth, there's a double strike error, meaning after the coin was struck once, it somehow remained in the striking chamber or fell back into position and was struck a second time, but rotated approximately 15 degrees from the first strike, creating a ghostly doubled image where you can see overlapping design elements. Roosevelt's profile appears twice, the lettering is doubled, and the overall effect is mesmerizing and bizarre, like looking at a glitch in the matrix of coin production. And fifth, completing this unprecedented combination of errors, the coin has what collectors call a curved clip error, where a piece of the planchet is missing, creating a concave curve indentation along the edge. This happens when planchets are punched for metal strips and the blanking process overlaps slightly with a previous punch, cutting away a crescent-shaped piece of metal. And while clip errors by themselves aren't extremely rare, having one occur on a coin that also has 4 other significant errors is virtually unheard of. When you combine all 5 of these errors on a single coin, you have something that might literally be unique in the entire world. There are no confirmed reports of any other 2002 P Roosevelt dime with this exact combination of errors, making it effectively a 1OF1 specimen. And in the world of rare coins, one-of-one items command premium prices that can reach stratospheric levels because collectors know they're buying something that nobody else can ever own, the ultimate trophy piece. A conversation starter that represents the absolute peak of their collection. The discovery of this $35 million coin happened in the most unlikely and dramatic way imaginable. In 2019, an elderly gentleman in Pennsylvania was preparing to move from the house where he'd lived for over 50 years into a smaller retirement apartment. And as part of downsizing, he was going through decades of accumulated possessions, sorting what to keep, what to donate, and what to throw away. In his basement, buried under boxes of old papers and forgotten belongings, he found several coffee cans filled with loose change, coins he'd been casually tossing into these cans for decades whenever he emptied his pockets, never thinking any of it had value beyond face value. His grandson, who was helping with the moving process and who had a casual interest in coins from watching YouTube videos, offered to take the coffee cans to a coin-counting machine and convert the change to bills for his grandfather. But on a whim, he decided to quickly sort through the coins first, looking for anything unusual, and within the first can he checked, mixed in with hundreds of ordinary dimes, quarters, and pennies, he spotted a dime that looked wrong. It was larger than the others, the design was off-center, and there seemed to be multiple images overlapping. He immediately pulled it out and showed it to his grandfather, who had no recollection of ever seeing it before, and assumed it must have been given to him as change years ago and tossed into the can without a second glance. The grandson took photos and posted them to an online coin collecting forum, asking if anyone could tell him what he'd found, and within minutes, experienced collectors were responding with increasing excitement, asking for more detailed photos, suggesting he contact professional grading services immediately, and warning him not to clean the coin or handle it excessively because any damage could affect its value. Within 24 hours, the post had thousands of views and dozens of comments from experts who were analyzing every detail and debating exactly what errors were present on this remarkable coin. The family contacted PCGS, explained what they'd found, and arranged to have the coin professionally examined and authenticated. The evaluation process took nearly 4 months because the coin was so unusual that multiple experts needed to examine it, verify its authenticity, rule out any possibility of postman alteration or counterfeiting, and document every aspect of its unique characteristics. Metallurgical tests confirmed the composition was consistent with experimental planchets used. Briefly at the Philadelphia Mint in 2002, dye studies verified that the striking characteristics matched known 2002 P Roosevelt Dime dyes, and microscopic examination of the errors confirmed they all occurred during the minting process and not through subsequent damage. When PCGS finally encapsulated the coin and assigned it a designation documenting all 5 errors, they noted in their records that this was one of the most significant error coins they'd examined in decades, and they predicted it would generate enormous interest when it eventually came to market. The family, working with professional numismatic advisors, decided to consign the coin to a major auction house that specializes in rare and exceptional coins, and the auction house, recognizing the potential significance of this lot, promoted it heavily in the months leading up to the sale, featuring it in print advertisements in coin collecting magazines, creating special promotional videos, and directly contacting their database of high-net-worth collectors who might be interested in bidding. The auction itself was one of the most dramatic events in recent numismatic history. Held in a major city with live bidding in the room, phone bidders connected from around the world, and internet bidding through the auction house's platform. The starting bid was set at $5 million, already an astronomical figure, but the auctioneer barely got the words out before paddles were rising and phone bidders were jumping in. The price climbed rapidly through 10 million, 15 million, 20 million, pausing briefly as some bidders dropped out, then continuing upward as the remaining competitors fought for ownership. At $25 million, there were 3 bidders still active. At $30 million, it was down to 2. And the final stretch was a tense back and forth between a phone bidder later revealed to be representing a wealthy Asian collector and an internet bidder whose identity remained anonymous. When the hammer finally fell at $35 million, the auction room erupted in applause. Collectors who had attended just to witness history being made stood and cheered, and the auction house staff were visibly emotional because they just facilitated the sale of one of the most valuable error coins ever sold. The winning bidder, through the auction house, released a brief statement saying they were honored to now own this unique piece of American numismatic history, and that the coin would be preserved for future generations, though they did not specify whether it would be displayed publicly or kept in a private collection. The impact of this sale on the coin collecting community cannot be overstated. Overnight, Roosevelt Dimes became one of the most scrutinized denominations, with collectors everywhere pulling out their dimes and examining them carefully for errors. Coin shows reported record attendance as people brought their collections hoping to have valuable errors identified. And online forums saw exponential increases in traffic as people posted images and asked questions about their finds. While most of these coins turn out to be regular strikes or minor varieties with modest value, the excitement and energy this discovery brought to the hobby was invaluable, bringing new collectors into numismatics and reminding longtime collectors why they fell in love with coin collecting in the first place. What makes the 2002 P Roosevelt Dime so special beyond its $35 million price tag is what it represents: hope, possibility, and the thrilling idea that extraordinary treasures can hide in the most mundane places. This coin spent years, possibly decades, sitting in a coffee can in someone's basement, mixed in with hundreds of ordinary coins completely overlooked and unappreciated, just waiting for someone to notice it. And that story resonates with collectors and non-collectors alike because it proves that you don't need to be wealthy or have access to exclusive auctions to find valuable coins. You just need to be observant, curious, and willing to actually look at what's in your hands. For anyone watching this video who's been checking their Roosevelt dimes while listening to these stories, I want to encourage you to keep doing that. Keep examining your coins. Keep learning about what to look for, because while finding a $35 million coin is admittedly a once-in-a-lifetime level of luck, valuable error coins are found regularly. People discover coins worth hundreds, thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars with surprising frequency. And the more you know about what to look for, the better your chances of recognizing something special when you encounter it. The key characteristics to look for on Roosevelt dimes include anything that makes the coin look different from normal: off-center strikes where the design is shifted to one side, broad strikes where the coin appears larger and thinner than usual with irregular edges, doubling effects where design elements appear twice, clip errors where a piece of the edge is missing, creating an indentation, wrong planchet errors where the coin appears to be struck on metal intended for a different denomination, and any unusual coloration or metallic appearance that suggests compositional anomalies. If you spot any of these characteristics, especially multiple errors on the same coin, you need to have it professionally examined because you might have found something valuable. The Philadelphia and Denver mints continue to produce billions of Roosevelt dimes every year, and despite increasingly sophisticated quality control technologies, errors still occur because absolute perfection is impossible in high-volume manufacturing. Dies develop cracks and continue being used. Planchets occasionally have defects. Mechanical timing issues cause striking problems. And sometimes multiple things go wrong simultaneously, creating coins like this legendary 2002 P specimen that become the stuff of numismatic legend. The story of the 2002 P Roosevelt dime worth $35 million is the perfect conclusion to our exploration of these incredible coins because it encapsulates everything that makes coin collecting exciting: the thrill of discovery, the possibility that anyone might find treasure, the intersection of history and accident, the beauty found in imperfection, and the incredible values that rare coins can command. This coin, along with the 2015 D at $20 million and the 2016 P at $13 million, proves that Roosevelt dimes deserve serious attention from collectors and casual observers alike. These aren't ancient rarities locked away in museums. They're recent coins that could theoretically still be in circulation, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone observant enough to recognize their value. So the next time you receive a Roosevelt dime in your change, don't just glance at it and drop it in your pocket. Take a moment to really look at it. Examine the strike quality. Check if the design is centered properly. Look for any unusual characteristics because you might just be holding a fortune in your hand. and even if you don't find a $35 million error. The practice of carefully observing and appreciating these small pieces of American history will enrich your life in ways that have nothing to do with money, connecting you to the fascinating world of numismatics, where art, history, economics, and chance come together in the palm of your hand. Thank you so much for watching The Coin Hunter. If you enjoyed learning about these incredible Roosevelt dimes, please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel for more amazing coin stories, and share this video with anyone who might have Roosevelt dimes they've never carefully examined, because you might just help someone discover their own fortune. And remember, treasure is everywhere if you just know where to look. So keep hunting, keep searching, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next person to discover a coin that changes your life forever.